Okay, what we're going to do, we're going to get into some of the elements of change. But before we do that, what we'd like you to do is think about some significant things in your life and in your business. And as you think about those things that are very significant in your life and in your business, there may be something that you would perhaps like to change. Now, I don't know what that item or items or things are that you would like to change. It could be your financial situation. It could be the business that you're in. It could be the market that you're in. It could be some employees in your business. It could be the relationship that you have with your employees or with your partners or with your spouse. To me, it doesn't matter what it is that you want to change.
Ask yourself these questions. What will it cost you if you don't make this change? Who else will it affect if you don't make this change? What would the people that care about you say if you don't make this change? What will it be like 5 years into the future if you don't make this change? Where will your life be? And then think on the other side, well, by making this change, who will benefit and gain from that? And how will that make you feel? Where will you be now in 5 years' time in the future? Having already made this change, living the lifestyle, having the things that you want or that you wrote down in your life. How would that make you feel? How important is it for you? There's a quote we have up there. In order to have a chance of survival today, tomorrow, and beyond, a business has to be capable of change. In order to succeed, that same business has to be willing to change. First you've got to be capable, and then you've got to be willing to do the change. And sometimes making that change can be gut-wrenching and hard work because of the fears that we go through when you make those decisions. I've been through change in my life many times like that where, it kept me awake at night and everything else. But most of the time, on the other side of that change, is all the rewards. You have to feel that fear and do it anyway. And because that's when the great rewards come.
I'll share a story with you, and it's a true story. It really, really, really happened. I don't know if it happened exactly the way I'm going to tell it because I was very small when it happened. But I share this because a lot of times people don't understand the difference between can't and won't. And when I was a kid, my recollection was it was something that I was trying to do, and my mom, she was a single woman, she was a very strong woman, she had 5 kids and kind of tough love kind of person. And she told me to do something, and I said, Mama, I can't. And she kind of grabbed me by the shirt and pulled me over, and my mom was, and it still is, kind of a feisty woman. And she said, boy.
That's where you got your weightlifting from, wasn't it?
Yeah. She said, boy, when you tell me that you can't do something, you're telling me one of two things. You're either telling me you don't know how, in which case I'm going to teach you, or you're telling me that you won't, in which case I'm going to beat you. Guess what I did? I learned how. Okay, there's certain things that when it comes time to change, that's important to keep in mind. Now, some of these things that I'm going to share with you, you're not going to go, oh my, that's profound, I've never thought about it. My goal here is not just to have you embrace profound thoughts that perhaps you've never considered yourself. You're all bright people. In most cases, the thoughts and the ideas I'm going to share with you aren't original, but I want you to think about them in a different way, and I want you to think about them more deeply, and I want you to think about them not in terms of understanding, but in terms of doing. But before you can start to implement effective change, you have to understand that change is constant. I don't care how successful you are today. You could be Microsoft, you could be Qantas Airlines, you could be Virgin Australia, you could be any business in the world. If you don't understand that change is constant, you're on the path to ruin. Understand that planned change is better than forced change. We talked about turnarounds. When I used to get calls to go into small businesses, it was because, you know what? I can't make payroll this week. That's forced change, right? You better do something. You better shut your business down. You better let go of some of your people. You better borrow some money. You better do something different. That's forced change. Plan change is, okay, well, look, I know that over time I'm going to need more people. I'm going to need less people. My market's going to grow. Their tastes are going to change. I need to adapt and adopt something different in my business now so that when the time comes for me to have to do it, I'm already prepared, right? The difference between plan change and forced change. Versatility, flexibility, and adaptability. If you can't be versatile in your business, whether it be your products, where you have a range of products and services, you're on the path to obsolescence. If you can't be flexible in terms of how you offer those products and how you take that message to the market, you're on the path to obsolescence. If you can't adapt to the changes in the economy, the demands in your marketplace, the competition that's coming into your neighborhood, you're on the path to obsolescence. There's a principle called Tri-Site. How many people in this room know Tri-Site? I know you don't. You know why? Because I made it up. But there's a principle of Tri-Site. Now, when I share this with you, you're going to go, duh. But everyone knows what foresight is, right? It's the ability to think about something that hasn't happened yet. And hopefully, if you're really good, maybe not psychic, but you have a reasonably good ability to predict or at least project or make valid assumptions about what's going to happen that hasn't happened yet. That's foresight. Valuable. What's going to happen in my marketplace that I need to prepare for today? Foresight. Okay? Insight. What's happening right now in my marketplace? What's happening in my business right now, and what can I do about it? What do I need to be doing? That's insight. Or something just happened, right? Something just happened in my business last week, last month, last year. That's hindsight. Right? I know what happened. In order to be able to manage change, you have to master the skill of Tri-Site. Think about what hasn't happened yet. Think about what's going on in your business now. Think about what's happened before, not as a way to go back and blame and say, oh, I woulda, coulda, shoulda, doggone it. But think about knowing what I know now about what happened last year. What would I do different today that if it comes up again, that I can have a different impact, I can have a different result, I can have a different effect on my business. It also has to do with letting go of the past and embracing the future. You know, I was talking to a friend of mine who's a very, very successful business consultant, and he teaches people how to do some really, really significant things. But before he got into business consulting, he would go into organizations and help them train their sales staff. Okay, and this, you know, when he shared this with me, I laughed literally for 15 seconds. He said, you know, invariably when I would go into an organization, especially, and it would happen more significantly the bigger the sales organization was, he'd say, okay, let me see your numbers for last week. And they'd say, oh, you can't look at last week. Last week was a bad week. So they would go back and they'd say, well, here, you know, they'd start digging through some files, and they'd pull out and say, look at this. Here was a quarter from 3 years ago. That's who we are. No, you're not. You're the business that happened last week. You know, I mean, it's like when you see somebody who takes a photo out of their wallet and they show you a picture when they were 17 in shape and they were a jock, right? And now they're 87. They're out of shape, and they say, look, this is a picture of me. Well, yeah, that's a picture of the way you were, but it's not the way you are today. So what you have to be able to understand is that what you're dealing with is today. You have to let go of the past. I don't care how successful your business was 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you got to deal with what is. And then you have to think about the future. And if you can do those things, it gives you a better than even chance to be successful in implementing plan change and successful plan change.
Because one of the challenges that a lot of entrepreneurs or business owners have is that because you gave birth to that idea and it was your entrepreneurial brainwave that created that business or started it out, it's like a baby to you. And you don't want to, have someone tell you that your baby's ugly. All right? So you tend to hang on to it and keep plugging away with that business even when it may suck. And it may be the wrong business model, maybe the wrong business altogether for what you want to achieve or the income levels and everything else. But because you're so close to it, you don't see that. I've been there and done that, worked in a business and helped someone grow it and everything else. And because I'm fairly persistent and didn't want to give up, but really it was the wrong model to actually be running as a business anyway. Right? And it's not till you really step back and let go of that baby because you're the one that created it, that you can really start to make some change. And you have to get, as Spike said, you have to get honest with yourself. And this weekend will be where you need to really, let down the barriers and go, well, shit, life sucks at the moment. I'm not making any money or I'm doing this. And and open up so that you can take in this knowledge and actually move forward into a new place. And that's our goal for you.
Yeah. Darren earlier was asking you about, what would happen if you did and what would happen if you didn't, make the change. The reason why he does that is that what happens with change is not that people can't change, and it's not even that they don't know how in many cases, but even if they don't know how, if they have a strong enough reason to change, they'll find a way. Whether it's coming to a program like this, whether it's going and starting a mastermind group, whether it's going and taking a class, reading a book, going to a business partner, going to a colleague, going to a competitor and sit down and saying, how can we form a strategic alliance here so that we can beat the blockbuster who just moved in down the street? If you have a big enough reason why, you'll find a way. Okay, there's only 4 ways to make change. And I challenge everyone in a positive way to figure out other ways, and I'll make it 5 ways to make a change if you can tell me there's another one. But first, you can stop doing something you're already doing, right? People say, I want to lose weight. Okay, stop eating so much. People say, you know what, I want to not have so much of a balance on my credit card. Stop spending so much, right? You can stop doing something that you're already doing. That's one of the ways to make a change. Second is you can start doing something that you're not doing. People say, I want to get in shape. Great. You can go to the gym, start running. You can jog in place. You can start yoga. You can do lots of things. You can start doing something that you're not doing. That's one of the 2 ways, or 2 of the 4 ways to make a change. You can do more of something that you're already doing. Okay? Go to the gym once a month, but you want to get in better shape? Go a couple times a week. Yeah, twice a month. It's a start. Right? Or you can do less of something that you're already doing. Those are the 4 ways you can make a change. Anyone can think of any other way you can make a change? Doesn't fit in one of those categories? Whew. Man, I've been doing this a long time, and I was hoping that... Okay. Now, in order to make a change, you got one?
Yeah, you could ignore doing anything at all, and things will just change around.
Well, let me ask you something. Were you ignoring it before?
Possibly not.
Okay, so if you weren't doing it before, then you're doing something now that you weren't doing before. So it fits into one of the 4 categories.
How about that?
But I do appreciate the thought. Okay, in order to make a change, there are a couple of things that you need to do. Number 1, you have to know where you are right now. And we're going to give you some sheets that you're going to take with you that are going to help you identify where you are today. But you have to have an idea where it is that you want to go. Okay? A lot of times businesses get stuck in the stagnation stage because they just say, you know what, I just don't want to be here. I just don't want my business to be this way. I just don't want to do this anymore. But they don't understand that it really has to do with more than just understanding that you don't want this anymore. You have to be able to understand that you want to be someplace else. You want to go someplace else. You want to have a different level of success. You have to understand what to change and what to leave alone. A lot of times people say, you know what, this isn't working. I'm just going to change something. I'm going to change everything. But it may not be the right thing. You have to think about it. It has to be plan changed. It has to be thoughtfully planned. Okay, you have to think about what's important to you and what's important to others. Now, in most cases, whether you own a business, whether you work in a business, or even if you are a sole proprietor in a business, the changes that you make in your business are going to affect other people. Could affect your family, could affect your neighbors, could affect your community, could affect your current clients, could affect your industry, could affect lots of things in your life. So you have to think about how it's going to affect you and the people and the things that are important to you. You have to think about what it is that you need to get there. You have to be able to create a plan, right? I know I'm here. I want to get there. I don't know how to do it. I have to put together a plan. I know there's certain things I'm willing to do, certain things I'm not willing to do, certain resources I have available to me, and certain things that I need, right? You have to understand what it is that you have and what it is that you lack. Right? I want to expand my business to Victoria, and I'm in another state. Well, what do I need? Well, unless I'm an online business, I'm going to need a facility. If I'm an online business, I'm going to need people who are going to buy from over there. I may need a supplier. I may need a shipper. I may need a fulfillment house. I may need web traffic that gets directed towards certain domain names or certain ISPs. You have to understand what it is that you have and what it is that you lack. And finally, you need to put together a plan of what I'm going to do first, what I'm going to do second, what I'm going to do next. Okay? If you can do that, that allows you to get into a path of effective change, effectively planned change.
This is the golden thing. It will happen over this weekend, over this 3 days will be a real transformation. We've got to do a lot of groundwork and setup work today, and to next day, we'll build on that, and you'll be amazed at what happens on day 3. we're going to do some amazing things. I mean, you want to touch on, we're going to tell them a little bit about what we're going to cover on day 2 and 3.
Yeah, today is really about kind of getting a grounding in terms of where you are and kind of opening up your mind and your heart and your senses to the opportunities that are in front of you. And then tomorrow we're going to start getting into the mechanics of how you do that. We're going to talk about strategic marketing. We're going to talk about relationship marketing. We're going to be talking about consultative selling. We're going to be talking about how to do joint ventures and leverage your relationships. We're going to give you some strategies to not only expand your network, but how to better leverage your network and better leverage your talents to your network so that you can contribute to the people that you're looking to engage either from a resource standpoint or from a relationship standpoint. And then finally, on the last day, what we're going to do is that we're going to give you some strategies to really move from that level of stagnation to success right into significance. And as you were talking earlier about sustainability, to me, when I evaluate a business, one of the things that I look for is sustainability, but I also look for scalability because it's something that I want, to be able to continue to grow. I want it to sustain, but I want it to scale. And ultimately, you may find that one of the other pillars and one of the other factors that you want in your life and your business is transferability, how you can transfer that into the lives of other people, into other businesses, and other activities. So on Sunday, we're going to be spending a lot of time about giving you the means and the methods, the strategies and the techniques of putting a plan together that you can take it out and put it into action. So there's a whole host of things we're going to be giving you from a business standpoint. We realize this is a business program and it's a business seminar that we're giving you, but we also recognize that you're people, and we want you to walk out of here with not only value for your business, but value for your life.
Because your mindset is a critical part to your business success. The many things that I've done over my years is actually change my mindset, and that's what's actually had some of the most profound impact on me achieving that success or not, because of the limiting beliefs or the things that have been happening inside my head. So we're going to take you through a journey with that as well, and hopefully show you some of the fundamental things that hold most people back that they don't even realise. So, and I'm no different to you. I've been to many, many seminars, and one of the things you will find with me and Spike is with our integrity is we will give you straight answers. Like, we're not going to stand up here and say to you, look, you should go and do another seminar, or you should do this with us, or whatever else. We're going to say, if you've got this skill set, or this is where you are, we're going to help you clear away the clouds and give you a clear direction and say, listen, don't spend any more money going to seminars doing this, this, or this. This is what you need to do, and these are the steps. All right? And that will make the difference in your life, because so many people keep going looking for that magical pill. All right? And you need to stop. As you say, you can do too much education and actually get that foundation, and that's what this is all about. So many people that we've come across in seminars all around the world just keep going to seminars and spending their money. I had one gentleman in Sydney that came to one of my seminars. He says, I loved what you said, and look, and I've just spent another $10,000 with that seminar company that were running the event. I really want to do yours. And I asked him a few questions, and he was going to have to mortgage his house if he spent mine. I said, there's no way I'm going to let you buy a ticket to our event, right? Because that would be out of integrity. Because I said, you need to take the knowledge you've already got, and I gave him a process to put in place so he could get a return on his investment that he's already invested in. All right, so that's something you're going to get from us. We're not going to beat around the bush. We're going to tell you how it is and really break it down for you so you have got that step-by-step plan.
Good.
All right. So,
any more questions before we move into the next segment?
Okay, good.
Hot diggity dog.
All right.
Okay, now what we're going to do is that we're going to talk about the foundation of success and the pillars of achievement. The comment came up earlier about sustainability. Well, guess what? Success built to last in spite of the past, present, or future. Because if you have success and it's fleeting, that's not really success. That's an event. What we're looking to do is create something that's sustainable in your life and in your business. And we can share with you some of the elements that will allow that to happen. Creating success that matters and lasts starts with understanding the reason why. Understanding the reason why you're doing anything. Why are you staying the same? Why are you doing something different? Why are you changing your business? Why are you changing your career? Why are you changing your relationship? Without having an understanding why, number one, it makes it very difficult to last, it makes it very difficult to change, and it makes it very difficult to appreciate or realize the benefit or value that you receive by making the change. Number two, you have to know where you're going. Right? If you don't know where you're going, you may be changing, but you may end up somewhere different, but it may not be where you're intended to be. or it may be worse than where you are. You have to have a destination. You have to have a point or a place that you're trying to at least approach. Now, maybe when you arrive at that point or you arrive at that place, you may want to go beyond that, and that's certainly okay, because we look at success as a never-ending journey, significance as a never-ending journey, progress and growth as a never-ending journey, the same with learning. But you still have to have a point somewhere out in the future that you're aspiring to be, you're aspiring to go, you're aspiring to do, or you're aspiring to be. Aligning intention with action. Came up earlier about energy. You know, you can have the greatest intention in the world. You know, I intend to be a good person. I intend to make a contribution in the world. I intend to be a Nobel Peace Prize winner. But you know what I do? I sit on my couch and I watch TV all day long. And for some reason, I can't figure out why people just don't recognize my contribution. So you can have the greatest intention in the world, but you have to be able to not only put it into action, but you have to align your actions with the intention so that you can measure your progress. Because if I've learned nothing else in my life, you know, I've had my ups and downs like most people in life. I don't know anyone that's had a straight line to success, but I do know this, that in my life, success has never been a straight line. It's never been a straight way up. It's been kind of like this, right? And sometimes it's like that, and sometimes it's like that. But if you want to make sure that you stay on track, you have to align your intention with your action, and your action with your intention. Allows you to get back on track. The next thing I want to share with you, if you take nothing else out of this seminar, I hope you take this distinction. Businesses look for competitive advantages. In most cases, I mean, most businesses are competitive. I mean, unless you're so unique, you're so well recognized, or you're so well positioned in your industry that you have no competition, and there are some. They look for distinctions. They look for competitive edges. And in some cases, it may be my product's 10% better. It's 10% cheaper. You know, I got 10% bigger selection. I can get it to you 10% faster. You know, if you're a business owner, well, I work 10% harder. I'm 10% smarter, or I work 10% faster, right? That's the 10% advantage. And if you can align enough of those 10% advantages, in many cases you can be very, very successful in your industry, very, very successful in your business. But if you really want to be significant, you really want to have a significant impact in your business and in your life and in your community and in the world and for your marketplace, look for a 10x solution. Something that fundamentally, if you change, is going to have a tenfold impact on your business. Now, you may not know what that is just yet. But when you find that, that's the thing that you work on, because the 10% being 10% better makes you 10% better. But if you can find something that has a tenfold impact, a tenfold return, a tenfold distinction in your business or in your life, that moves you from any of those stages. You could be at struggling, you could be at stagnation, you could be at success, but it's going to propel you to significance. So throughout this program, I'm going to be asking you to be thinking about what is the 10x solution, what is the 10x action, what is the 10x strategy, what is the 10x thought, what is the 10x goal that I can have that is fundamentally going to reshape everything I do in my life and in my business, that's going to take me from where I am to where I had always hoped I could be and beyond. All right, Darren O, let's talk about the pillars of growth and achievement, buddy.
Well, having a mission is fundamental with any business. Doesn't matter whether you're a single operator or you've got staff members or you've got a multinational corporation, having a mission that is compelling, that is inspiring you. There's not something you just write down, you know, to put up on a wall. It has to mean something to you. It has to really get your juices flowing. It's got to make you passionate about where you're going, what you're going to achieve in the world, what your company stands for.
If I could, I want to make a distinction about what a mission is. I mean, I think a lot of times most people understand it. Some people don't, and some people confuse it. But here's the distinction. A mission is the reason why your business exists. Your mission is the reason why you do what you do, right? That's the purpose of your life, the purpose of your business, the purpose of your organization, the purpose of what that entity or that enterprise or that activity has come about for. What is it that you're trying to accomplish? What is it that you're trying to do? What is it you're trying to be and build within your business? What is the purpose for existence? You know, it's funny because I used to do a fair amount of consulting work for not-for-profit agencies in the U.S. And they call them not-for-profits, you know, as opposed to charities. You know, it became a not-for-profit distinction, and I'm not quite sure why, because I would go into these not-for-profit businesses, and they would say, you know, we're not really concerned about profits. We're concerned about the mission. And I'd say, great. But one of the things you have to realize that without a profit, there is no mission, you know, because you can go your separate ways because there's not going to be a building. But fundamentally, they had it right because they started with a mission. They knew I could go to any person, volunteer, paid staff, director, and I could ask them, what's your mission? They knew what it was, they knew why it was, they knew why it was important, and they knew how to articulate it. When I go out into the world of for-profit business, and I ask them what's their mission. Well, you know, we're not really sure. I'm sure you can walk down the hall and you'll see it hanging on the wall, but they couldn't articulate it. And if I went and I started talking to the employees in the organization, not only did they not know what the mission was, they didn't know where they fit into it, and they didn't know how it was aligned with what was important to them, which was, to me, the biggest disconnect in the world for an organization. You know, I would go into an organization and I would do strategic planning retreats. And we're going to give you something right before lunch called a one-page business plan, and we're going to give you some things that you can walk through that because I like to keep things very simple. But I would go into an organization. They would call me up, and it was either the business owner or the CEO, or in some cases it was the board of directors and maybe the chairman, and they'd say, we'd like you to lead a strategic planning retreat. We'd like you to facilitate a process to help us kind of get clear about our mission and our vision and our values and all that stuff. And I'd say, okay, but there are a couple of things that, you know, I ask. Number one is that it's not just like a couple of people. It's, you know, the most pronounced people in the organization, the people that make the decision, you know, the people that are kind of the core of the team, that they be part of the process. The second is that we go do it somewhere. We go do it off-site, because I didn't want the phone ringing. I didn't want people walking out taking phone calls and running down the hall and talking to their staff and trying to run the business while they're thinking deeply about things that were very important. And the third thing I would say is that I want you to understand something, and that is when we come out of this strategic planning retreat, you're going to lose some people. And they would say, well, what do you mean we're going to lose some people? I say, well, there's going to be someone that's pretty significant on your team. Could be one, could be half, could be that day, or could be 6 months down the road. But at some point in time, you're going to lose those people. And they say, well, why the heck would I want to do this? Why would I want to get clear about my mission? Why would I want to go through this whole process of determining, you know, this strategic planning stuff if I know I'm going to lose my staff? Because you already lost them. Because if people aren't clear about their mission, and you're not clear about your mission, and you're not clear about how they align, you've lost those people, and they've lost you. So to the degree that you can be clear about your mission as an organization, and as we get into some of this other stuff, we'll talk about aligning some of the other elements that are pillars for this Parthenon of success, if you will. It's important that you understand that you have to be clear about your mission, personally, professionally, organizationally, and from a company standpoint, because it allows you to get in alignment with what's important to other people. Their purpose for being, their purpose for coming to work, their purpose for being part of your team or part of your organization.
Yeah, and it helps them if they can be a part of that, and that it's bigger than the individual, it's bigger than the company owner, it's a bigger, you know, mission or vision. They've got a bigger plan, because people, you know, strive towards that. And so if you can engage them in the excitement of where the company's going, what it stands for, and what it's going to achieve, then you'll get the buy-in from all the rest of the team members. Right, and especially for us men, there was an ad actually placed in a paper once. A world-famous explorer was taking a trip to Iceland or the North Pole, and he was wanting people to go with him on this, you know, discovery. And he put an ad in the paper trying to get people to come on this exploration, and he got 2 or 3 responses. And he couldn't believe it, you know, because he had to get a crew together to be able to go on this expedition. So he put an ad in the paper, then someone told him to change it around and said, the ad read something like, an opportunity to go on this major expedition. It will be life-threatening, you may not return, you know, but an opportunity for fame and fortune because of, you know, what could happen, but, you know, it's going to be very dangerous. And he had something like 600 applications. So the thing was, you know, that, you know, people strive for something bigger and better out there. all right, because the fear and the danger and everything that excited them and got their adrenaline going. Most of these were guys that applied, obviously.
Silly men. Well, and that leads into vision, which is the next component. Now, when people ask me to make a distinction between mission and vision, because a lot of times people say vision, mission, mission, vision, like they're the same thing or like they're intertwined, they're related, but they're distinctly different. The mission is the reason why you exist. Okay? The vision is where you see yourself going over time. Right? How does that mission unfold over time? 6 months, 6 years, 6 decades down the road. A mission is something that very rarely changes. It's the reason for being. But the vision can change in many cases in terms of how you see the realization and the execution of that mission over time. You can think about your vision as being an extension of your mission in terms of where you see yourself going over time. It could be, 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years, 3 decades. But the vision is where you see yourself, your organization, and your company going in the direction that it's taking as your mission is unfolding. Okay? The clearer you can articulate that vision, the easier it is to inspire people. Because a lot of times people get all excited because of the mission. Oh, I want to be part of this mission. I want to be part of this mission. And they join an organization, but yet they don't see the mission really happening, right? So if you can convey that, if you can share that, if you can project that, the ability for foresight to say, okay, over time, this is what the organization is going to look like. This is how our mission is going to unfold. This is how it's going to impact the people that we interact with externally, internally. This is how your vision can be aligned. The vision that you have for your life, the vision that you have for your job or your career. This is how it affects you.
So I guess just following on from that is, in your mindset, you have on average about 90,000 thoughts a day go through your head. So how many of those are really positive and moving you towards your vision and what you want to achieve? So it's really important that you get that written down clear because it has an impact on your unconscious mind. And your unconscious mind really has a big impact on everything you do. If you were to think for a moment, before I get into values and beliefs and behaviours, is that think of an old pirate ship, for example. You've got, back in the olden days, an old pirate ship. You've got the captain and you've got the crew. So who's in charge when you've got an old pirate ship? The captain or the crew? Captain. The captain. Yeah, you've got the captain. He's in charge. Well, what happens when the captain treats the crew really badly? What do you get? You get a mutiny. Now, when you have that mutiny, now who's in charge? The crew. That's right. Now, if you think of it out like this, your little voice inside your head at the unconscious level is the crew. And you're the captain. But the crew is really in charge. All right. So most of the people on the planet are out of rapport at the unconscious level. And that's why they're not achieving what they want to achieve in success. Even if you've got the right steps and the right processes, if you haven't got it right in here, then you will struggle to achieve that, even if you've got a good formula to follow. All right? So that's fundamental. So part of that comes back to your values. Where is your attention? What do you value? All right? Your beliefs. We put down, actually you got that list before that you wrote. Have a look at that. Take that list back. There was a few pages, we did it earlier. Look at what's important to you. And if you're here and you're wanting to create, how many people here would like to know how to create more wealth and that they want more wealth in their life? Okay. Look at that list and I want you to raise your hands if you have wealth in the top 3 out of your list. Okay, there's a number of you. Excellent. Those who don't, you need to have a look at it and say, well, okay, what are you paying attention to? Because if wealth is something that you really want to create and it's not one of your top values, then and something else is, maybe at the unconscious level you're sabotaging your own success. All right? So somebody here, like if you aren't earning the money that you want or what you have consciously that you would believe you're worth and out there achieving it, one, it could be that you haven't got the right business model and steps, but highly likely it's a combination of that plus that at the unconscious level there's something stopping you and blocking you. All right? So hands up someone who would like to see whether I'd like to see someone up here that we can demonstrate a process with, so we can see where their block is or anything that's holding them back from true success. Does anyone, let me see a show of hands, who's struggling now or that really wants success in their life financially, but something seems to get in the road for them? Let me see a show of hands. All right. Who's really passionate about it? Jump up here and get up here really quick. It's too easy for you. You're sitting at the front. We'll do you after.
You should have said jump up and stay up.
Someone. All right. Okay, come on. All right. Give her a hand, give her a hand. You need to get a paper with your list. What we're going to do is just have a little, also I should have said who was willing to share their list and where they're at when they come up here. So are you okay to do that, Fiona? Is it Fiona or Sandra?
Yes, I'm Fiona.
Fiona.
Can we have a hand mic, please?
Yes. All right, well, I'll get you to read these out to me. What was on your list in order from the very top?
Yep. It was Sandra. No, it's fine. I'll let you do that.
I should have been more specific. Can we have a mic that's turned on?
Yep.
Sandra, satisfaction, health, financial freedom, fitness, family, people, friends, thinking, reflecting, and living a good life.
Okay, so your top one was
Sandra. My
Sandra,
partner.
your partner, yeah.
Yep.
And the second one was satisfaction.
Yep.
Okay. And third one was health.
Yep.
And then the fourth one was financial freedom. All right. Now, does financial freedom specifically mean money or wealth? No, it doesn't necessarily. All right. Just there's some people who has wealth in theirs, on their list, or success. All right. Does success mean that you'll make money? You can be successful and have no money. So you can be very successful and be broke.
It's called successfully broke.
Yeah, successfully broke. All right. So the thing is there's distinctions at the unconscious level that just because you might think, oh, well, if I'm successful, then by default, that means I'm going to be wealthy. Right? How many people have assumed that before? Okay, a few. All right. The reality is that's not the case. You know, physical money is different to being wealthy or successful, because you can be wealthy because you've got great relationships, you know, or wealthy because you're healthy. You know, like they don't necessarily equate to money. So it's important to get those distinctions and see what the difference is at the unconscious level. All right. So what we're going to do is what I'd like. So for you, I'd like you to close your eyes for a moment. And describe to me, when you make a picture of the first one, your partner, is that a bright picture? A bright picture? Is it large or panoramic?
Shining out.
Shining out? Okay. And how close is it to you if you hold a picture inside your mind? Is it, point to it for you, it's really close to you? Okay, so it's close. And is there any movement or sound with that picture inside your mind? Yeah? Okay. And is the picture a still or is it moving?
The shimmering of the movement.
So it's a movement. Okay, good. All right, now I want you to take that picture out of your mind and I want you to think of, okay, the next one on your list was satisfaction. So I want you to picture what satisfaction looks like to you and describe that. Is that a coloured picture or black and white? It's colour. And is it close or further away than the last one?
Sort of around me.
It's around you? No, I need to swap mics. Okay, and is there any movement or?
It's like you're lying in a comfortable position.
Okay. All right. So now what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to think of a negative memory for a moment and describe to me what that picture is. Is that picture a coloured picture or is it more darker, black and white?
Yeah, darkness, blackness. Blackness.
Okay. Is it close or further away?
It's still close.
It's really close, but not as close as the other ones.
No.
Okay. Is there movement or sound?
It's sort of grating sounds.
Grating sounds. So not as nice
No.
Sounds. All right, good. Now, what I want you to do is open your eyes for a moment and just shake that memory out of your mind. I want to have a look at, go back and close your eyes. And financial freedom. Describe to me, picture that inside your mind. Now, financial freedom, what does that look like? Is that a panoramic picture or a normal size picture?
Surrounding.
It's surrounding.
Mm-hmm.
Is it as colour or is it darker?
No, bright and shiny.
Bright and shiny. And is it further away than your first picture or closer?
It's
Further out.
further out, yeah.
Okay. And now what I'd like you to do is there any movement or sound with that?
Yeah, the tranquility sounds.
Yep, tranquility sounds. All right. Now what I'd like you to do is think of a different image. I want you to think about actual money, having wealth, financial wealth, money. And tell me what that picture looks like.
Looks like giving it to people.
But is that a black and white picture, a coloured picture, different to the others?
It's different. It's a duller colour.
And so it's duller. Okay. Is there any noise or is it moving or still?
It's moving.
It's still moving? Okay, good. All right. You can open your eyes for a moment. Now, what did we identify there? There's differences between her association to money in the memories that she holds inside her mind to the one that was on top of her list, which was her partner. All right? That one had a different picture, a different feel to what she did have as money. So what we would need to do is map the positive emotions that were with the first one, because that's the strongest one that she's so associated to, and take the ones for money and map them across and make them the same. And if you make them the same, then you're going to have the same intensity for the first one. All right? And so what I'm going to do is just get somebody else up here. Thank you for that demonstration. I'll come back. Give her a hand. Because what we find often, there's a vast difference between what you're passionate about and everything else, and you may have a negative association to money. And so it's a different picture altogether. So what we do is we take those images and we move them across, and if that was a negative, say if it was a dark picture about money and it was out here where she holds that memory, yet all her positive ones are here and the experiences she has, then we move the money one in here closer and we change it so it's the same colours and the same dynamic, so it's the same shape, colour, size and everything else, and move it. Right? And that will have an impact on the unconscious level so that they all of a sudden will be motivated to actually attract that and do that in their life. All right? So what I'd like you to do is everyone just close their eyes for a moment. And sitting in your chair. And I want you to picture a happy memory, something that was really positive and a happy memory for you. Notice, is it a big picture? Is it colour? How bright is the colour if it's colour? Or is it darker? Is it a moving picture? Is it still? Is there any noise or sounds? Any feelings or emotions attached to that feeling? So if that's something that's really you're passionate about, that you have in abundance in your life, it's a really happy, positive memory. And just really get a good glimpse of all the different modes of the modality in that. Whether it's a moving or still, or is it bright, panoramic. Now, once you've got that, I want you now just to let that memory go and notice and think of a negative memory, something that's been a little bit painful or negative in your life, and just notice what's different. Maybe it's a different colour. Maybe it's still rather than moving. Now, all right, let go of that negative memory want you now to think about your association to money. Having physical wealth and money in your life, so money. And just notice what that image looks like. Notice what we call submodalities, which is it a big panoramic view, or is it just a picture? Is there movement or sound? Is it clear or blurry? Notice the difference between money and your other memories. Now you can just open your eyes. Okay, raise your hand if you had a different image inside your mind compared to the other one. Okay, good. All right, who noticed the difference between a positive memory and a negative memory? Was there a difference? Good. So this is how our brain works. The mind codes these memories, and the things that you are attracting into your life are often to do within there. We need to change your blueprint and your programming inside the mind at the unconscious level to actually attract that wealth in. So we need to align them to what's really going to move you forward to achieving it, because often you'll find that they're out of alignment. And and just by changing that one thing at the unconscious level, the floodgates can open up. I literally had somebody that, for him, well, actually, just for your moment, just close your eyes, and I want everyone to close their eyes, and I want you to just point for yourself where the future is for you. Just close your eyes and just imagine where your future is and point to it. And then once you know where it is for yourself, and then once you've done where the future is, I want you to now think where the past is. Point to the past, where that is before you. Okay, good. Now open your eyes. I had somebody once where their future was up here. All right. Well, and the thing is, they've always found that their life was such a struggle and an uphill battle. All right. But that's where the future was. So all we did was able to change it at the unconscious level, move it down to here. All right. All of a sudden had a slight lean going down. So now he started to get momentum, and he went from struggling to being a multi-millionaire in New Zealand in less than 12 months.
Yeah, I'll give you a strategy that will allow you to do what Darren did and to remind you, not just today or tomorrow or Sunday, but something that you can do for the rest of your life. And what I'd like you to do is write this word down on a piece of paper. Write it a little bit big so it kind of stands out from your other notes. And the word is revision. R-E-V-I-S-I-O-N, revision. The word revision basically is a process that you can use where you go back and you re-envision the beliefs that you have about your capabilities. You go back and you revision the thoughts and beliefs about your behaviors and the events that happen in your life.